and she wrote a story about her husband, Mike, that we'll be speaking with her about today. So welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So, okay, Barb, tell us a little bit about you and Mike. Like, how did you meet? How long were you married? Things like that.
So I was living in Missoula and came over to Billings for a birthday party. And by the end of that weekend, Mike had to tell me that he was interested in me because I had no clue. 25 people.
So he was at the birthday party, okay.
Yeah, first time I met him. Then I ended up moving to Billings later that year for work. Although he was a little worried I was moving for him, and I said I'd never do that. So I moved over here, and we started dating, and that was in 2007, the end of 2007. And we dated for quite a while, and then we eventually lived together, and one day we just decided to get married, and that was in 2016.
Okay,
And
it just kind of came up over breakfast or something?
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. So we had a barbecue preceded by a wedding.
Oh, wonderful. That's
And
cool.
Barb explains a little more about all of that in her story, kind of how that whole wedding transpired there, so you guys will have to check that out. Now, your story is titled Letters to Mike, a Surviving Spouse and Grieving Widow's Tale. So can you tell us a little bit about how letters and notes played into your relationship with Mike?
So Mike and I worked different shifts. I would leave for work very early in the morning, and oftentimes he would work the swing shift 3 to 11, or even sometimes 2 to 10. So we kept a notebook on our counter with things we didn't see each other to say, to tell each other. This is going on. Remember, we have this weekend, and it always ended with "I love you," and to infinity and beyond. That was kind of our catchphrase.
Yeah.
And so I have this entire notebook now of our letters back and forth. We even had arguments on the tablet.
Communication
We
at
did.
its finest, right?
And to be honest, sometimes you can write things you can't say face to face.
Yeah.
So now I haven't been able to read it, but I have this notebook of letters we wrote back and forth to each other over the course of a few years.
Wow,
So
that's really special.
it is special.
It is very special. And I have read those letters in the notebook, and they are funny, they are heartwarming, they are loving, they are annoyed. they kind of run the gamut of
Yeah.
our relationships communication.
Yeah.
And so,
If you haven't read Barb's story yet, if you go read it, you'll get a glimpse of some of those notes and messages.
yeah.
So, tell us, why did you continue to write to Mike after he passed?
All the grief articles I read said it was important to keep a blog. I wanted a record of what it felt like to lose him, and I started within a few days of him passing away. And I didn't physically write, I typed it on my computer, and I called it A Year of Firsts, intending to go through all those first things that happened. The holiday, the first birthday, the first Father's Day, the first everything. And my blog ended up being like I was talking to him. I yelled at him for dying. I told him how much I missed him, and I would say what I'm doing and all the things that it would be better if he was there with me. But I did that almost every day for the first year. And I still do it every once in a while, just kind of my grounding. So.
Very cool.
There are also snippets of those letters in Barb's story, and they're just beautiful. So if you haven't read it, I would recommend that you do that. You mentioned in your story that you don't agree with the stages of grief. Can you explain a little bit about that? I know we go into it in more detail in your story, but for those
stages of grief were going into, I believe, hospice, and we're going to die, and all the stages they go with bargaining. It was never intended to be adopted into someone who's passed it away and survivors. There are no stage. You don't move through the stages, and I've been told, well, you're in this stage. I say there are no stages. I go back and forth between those things several times since he's passed away.
Sometimes in a single day.
In a single day. And they're just, you can't put a timeline on how long it takes because you never get through it. You never get over grief. You just journey through it every day, and people expect to be over it if they get to a certain point.
Right.
And you're not.
And we do dive into a little bit of the science behind that in her story, but I want to say I had seen a meme the other day that reminded me of you, and it was a ball, and it was grief, and it was in a jar, and the jar was this size, and the ball of grief was this size, and it took up a lot of space, and it said, what people think about grief. And then there was a similar jar with the ball, and the ball of grief had stayed the same size, but the jar around it had grew, representing, time that had passed and things that have happened in our lives as we continue to live. Our grief is still there. Our love for these people are still there. It's our life kind of expands around it as we go through it. So it's not a matter of getting over the grief itself. It's
or
a matter
lessening
or
the
lessening
grief,
the
or
grief,
making
right.
it shrink or go away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've seen that.
Right.
I've seen that exact
Oh, you've seen
meme.
the meme.
It's in a box, and the ball hits that grief button, and it hurts just as much. It just doesn't hit that grief button as often.
Yeah, another very similar
So
metaphor for
That's very powerful. Yeah. Okay, so what is the one thing that you would want to say to other surviving spouses, having been through the experience yourself?
give yourself grace. Don't fight tears. Tears release so many things, stress hormones. Cry when you need to cry, and never, ever, ever apologize for crying. I used to, and I told myself, why are you apologizing for crying because someone you love so much died? And that was the last time I did it. I might say now, you'll have to forgive my tears. It doesn't mean I don't want to talk about him. It's better if I do. But I'm just telling you, I'll probably cry like I'm tearing now. Don't apologize for your tears. Too many of us want to make somebody else comfortable rather than expressing our grief and our feelings and our love for that person. We're protecting everybody else, but we're not protecting ourselves.
There's a quote, I don't know if you can remember it, I can't remember the whole thing or who says it, but it's like tears are the expression of love. I just put that quote somewhere and I can't remember it, but essentially that is exactly what we are. You're crying because you love this person so much, and so why should you apologize for that love?
Yeah.
It
Right.
feels like apologizing for your love and your emotions.
I try to educate people on what not to say to people. I do.
There's a little bit of that in Barb's story too.
I try to educate people. I feel I use some of the same phrases, in the past.
And we all do, because there's no,
We
we
don't know
all
what to
want
say.
to help, but we don't know what
Right.
to say.
And
that's
if
the
we've
right
never
thing.
been in your shoes, we don't know, so we
No.
need the education.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's not a helpful statement.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much for being here with us, Barb, and for sharing some more details about your story.
You're
We really
welcome.
appreciate
And
it.
your love story. Thanks for sharing
And your love story.
I
It's a
appreciate
it's a really beautiful
I
one.
appreciate the story that you both put together, and it's hard to sometimes put that into words, and you did it beautifully.
Thank you. If you haven't read Barb's story, please do that. It's really one that you don't want to miss. It's so beautiful and heartfelt, and relatable, I think, for a lot of people. So the link for that will be in the show notes description below. And anything else you want to say, Danielle?
I don't think so. I think just maybe a reminder to love the people in your life a little more today than
Yeah.
yesterday, because you never know what life brings us. So
Absolutely.
thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.